Manchester United have 7 days, in fact, 6 days. They've got 6 days to fix all the problems that we discovered against Hull last Saturday before they play Ipswich on Sunday this coming weekend. There's so many. I actually struggled to just fit it down to 5, but I'm going to give you guys 5 things that Manchester United and Carrick need to fix before the game this weekend. Let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree. Any other things that I've missed out on, there is a few. But let me know in the comments all of your thoughts. Like the video and subscribe, and let's get straight into this video. Chapter 1, number 1, mentality. Now, in my opinion, that's the main thing. The main thing that I actually thought and I realized in that whole game was our mentality is all over the place. No, this is a team who last season Hull just about made it to the Premier League. In fact, they were tipped to get relegated. They overachieved, got into a playoff position, somehow made it to the final and scored a last-minute goal to get into the Premier League. And they've just pumped Manchester United, a team that they've never beaten in the Premier League before. They've pumped, outplayed, outfought Manchester United in the opening game of the season. That is horrendous. And you know what else that tells me? That tells me that the problem isn't quality. Because the quality of Hull should never even equal to United. It shouldn't. That tells me that the problem is mentality and effort. And I've been saying this, and I made a video on my Instagram, go check that out, about the effort and the mentality of these players. But it was completely wrong. Now, whether that comes from the manager, whether that just comes from internally or whatever it is, from the club, the direction of the club, the mentality and the culture of the club, there's loads of different reasons. But the mentality going into the game against Hull was horrendous, and that needs to change. Carrick needs to sit those boys down. I say boys, these are grown men. These are grown men. Some of these guys are 30 plus years old. These are grown men. He needs to sit them down and say, yo, what the hell was that? You say, what the hell? Are you proud of yourselves? Now, are you guys proud of yourselves from that performance? Forget the football inside, just effort. Are you proud of yourselves? Because that was horrendous. That was horrible. That was one of the worst games of football I think I've seen under Carrick. In fact, one of the worst games I've seen from United in a very long time. That was horrendous. And it's all, like I said, effort and mentality. Quality-wise, you can't complain. These guys can't complain. You can't say, oh, we played Arsenal, or we played City, or we played, I don't know, in the Champions League game or whatever. No, you're playing Hull City, mate. There's no complaining about quality. You should be better than these guys. You should be. So look, mentality, it needs to change. And it's something that is reoccurring because I feel like we've been having these conversations for a very long time. Not just Carrick, under Amorim, under Ollie, under Ten Hag, under Mourinho. We've been having these conversations about mentality, effort, are they actually trying to win every single game or are we just trying to coast? We've been talking about this for a very, very long time. So the team needs to improve on that. And you know what? One thing that actually specific that needs to be improved is how do United, the players, react to adversity? Because that's one thing that champions, when you look at the best teams, the champions, that's what you look at and you realize, okay, that is a team that's looking to win. Every single season, the team that wins usually goes through some sort of adversity at some point in the season. I remember when City were, this was going years back, but the goal against Leicester, Company, that's adversity. You don't win that game, you don't win the league. Company goes and scores a screamer. I remember Arsenal last season, there were plenty of games last season where Arsenal probably should have lost, but they got over that adversity. And it took them a few years to understand that and be able to build that into the game. But eventually, once they understood it, they were able to fix it. And last season, they got over that hump. Liverpool, we've seen it before in multiple years as well. Chelsea, we've seen it in multiple years as well. Manchester United have struggled for a very long time with getting over adversity. When it feels like we're losing, we lose. Like when it feels like the games are going against us, we end up losing. And I think there was a point, maybe it was under Ollie or I can't remember what it was, but there was a point where we were actually winning a lot of games from losing positions, and it was like, it was very confusing because it was like, why do we keep going down, but then we just switch it on in the second half and we come back and win. But that just died. That died. And the crazy thing about United is when you look at our history and our record, United have never lost a game after being up 1-0. You know what I mean? We've never lost a game. If we keep this whole mentality of when we're in adverse situations, whatever, I can really see us losing that record. Because I can see us going up 1-0 first half and we coasting and we think that everything's great. All of a sudden, this team just come back against us and we can't control the game. We can't keep that momentum. We can't keep it on our side. So we really need to as a team, as a club, we really need to understand how to not only build momentum for ourselves, but when the tide is going against us, when the tide is swinging against us, how do we bridge that and how do we actually overcome it, to be able to get these wins. So yeah, hopefully that isn't a pattern and we can fix that by the weekend. Number 2, chapter 2, the midfield. Look, we've been talking about this Man United midfield since Carrick left. In fact, before that, we've been talking about this midfield. And it's still an ongoing conversation. Has it been fixed? We don't even know yet. That's the crazy thing is, we don't know if the midfield has been fixed yet because based off the first game, it's not. Based off the first game of the season against Hull, the midfield hasn't been fixed yet. And I'm it is one game, so it's not nothing to overreact to because I don't think Tielemans is a bad player. I don't think Santos is a bad player. Do I think they both work together? I mean, again, we're gonna have to see multiple times to see if that was just an off game. But I mean, so far it doesn't look like that they necessarily fit together. They are good plays individually, but it doesn't seem like they gel completely together. Like I said, we will have to see more games to see what it looks like, but it does feel like we need a different kind of profile in that team or in that midfield pivot. Now, look, I've been saying for a long time, I said it before the game, I think Kobbie Mainoo will easily walk back into the team. Easily. I think defensively he's actually very underrated. I think he's one of them players that people just look at and think because he's not a flipping sprinter, because he's not Elliot Anderson or one of these Declan Rice that just likes to run all the time and just do nothing, that he can't. Defensively, he's not great. That's just not true. I see Kobbie Mainoo doing a lot of defensive actions, whether it's tackles, interceptions, whether it's even clearances from the box, whether it's over short distances. His recovery is actually really good. And he actually does win the ball back really well. He's very strong, very physical. Another lie that was told to us by Amarim that he can't handle the physicality of the Premier League. You rarely ever see Kobbie get bounced off the ball. Rarely ever. He's very strong in the middle of the pitch. So I actually think Kobbie will walk back into the team pretty easily. And then the conversation really is who sits next to him. Is it Santos? Is it Tielemans? Is it Baleba? Long term, I genuinely feel like Baleba will be our starting midfielder next to Kobbie. Long term, as of right now, I can't see that happening. I can't see that happening this year. I think it will take a while before one, he gets fit enough to actually play. But two, we're gonna have to go through a bunch of combinations before we actually figure out what the best one is, and that isn't just necessarily substitutes, but we have to see, okay, how do these two players start the game together? How do they look like when one of them comes off the bench? Is this player better at closing the game? Is he better at opening the game? These kind of things that it's gonna take a while before Carrick and us as fans actually see that and see it work. But I think long term it will be Baleba and Kobbie Mainoo. But yeah, the midfield is something that really needs to be addressed. Hopefully we have addressed it, but we just need to figure it out. Number 3, our wide areas are not complete. In fact, our wide areas need real addressing. Now, a lot of people complain about Dorgu playing as a winger. I strongly disagree. I think hindsight is an amazing thing. And if not one person, look, I do United content. I film, countdown to kick off on United Stand before every single game to 10,000 people. So we see in the chat, we see what people say. I'm on social media. I know what's going on. Nobody complained about Dorgu playing left wing before the game. Nobody complained. Why? Because we've seen him play it before and we knew that he could do it, right? So to me, all the people you're being overreactionary and saying, I can't believe Carrick started Dorgu left wing. Why would you do that? You didn't say it before the game, so don't say it now. Don't act like you knew before the game that this was going to be poor performance from Dorgu, because we've seen Dorgu play 10 times better than this. In fact, throughout pre-season, Dorgu didn't play as left back. He played as a left winger. And he's arguably one of our best players, amongst other players, of course, but he definitely didn't have a poor pre-season and he was playing as a left winger. When he first came through under Carrick, we played City, we played Arsenal, we played all these different games before he got injured. He plays a left winger and he played pretty well. So this argument that Dorgu should never play left wing again is ridiculous, because it's just great hindsight after a really poor game. You know what I mean? In saying that, I do think he can play left back. I don't think he's against. It's not like it's a horrible position for him to play. It's not like he's playing as a midfielder. He can play left back, but I think he just had a really poor game. And I think when you got him and Luke Shaw, who offensively, Luke Shaw isn't the best player. He can put it across probably better than other fullbacks, but I just don't see much of a threat going forward with Dorgu and Luke Shaw, especially when Dorgu's not having a great game. So I think our wide area, and on the right hand side as well. I mean, we had injuries, to be fair. So, Ahmad was playing, he probably would have been on the right wing. Dallo as well, probably could have been starting over Mazraoui. These are all things that are if, buts and maybes. So I think both sides need to be addressed and we need to find the best partnerships on both sides. Rashford starting was never going to happen. Again, another thing that I'm here to just debunk a bunch of nonsense that people are saying online. People saying that why didn't he start Rashford? Rashford didn't even have a confirmed squad number until like an hour before the game. He was never going to start Rashford. We all know that. He was never going to start Rashford over Dorgu. Nobody asked for him starting over Dorgu. It was never going to happen. So maybe next game he will, because Rashford he's a good player. He's definitely good enough to start. But yeah, I think Carrick really needs to find his best partnerships on those two sides. The next thing, number 4, Bruno Fernandes. Look, I love Bruno Fernandes. I think he's an incredible player. He's probably my favourite player, if not one of my favourite players for United. But the problem with Bruno, and the dilemma is that when Bruno has a poor game, United have a poor game. And it is so evident. I've been saying this for a very long time, and it's not something that changes. You know, if Bruno isn't having a great game, the rest of the team don't have a great game. And the reason why is because he's so influential in the way we play. If it doesn't run through Bruno, it doesn't run through anyone. You know what I mean? Bruno is, I don't know how many touches he has. I don't have the stats right in front of me, but I'm sure he takes probably the most amount of touches in the middle of the pitch. You know, other than that, our centre-backs and our goalkeeper, maybe, I don't know. But Bruno, in the middle of the pitch, where things are happening, where we need our best players and our most creative players and our, the players that have the most ability, in those positions, Bruno takes the most touches. Which is why if Bruno isn't having the best game, or if he's having a poor game, the rest of the team usually has a poor game. Now, that works one of two ways. Either one is great because I think Bruno is our best player and you kind of want your best player to be the most involved. But it's also poor because we can't rely on one player to make the team. The team needs to be able to play whether or not Bruno has a good game or not. The team needs to be able to play whether Bruno plays or not in general. So that is something that Carrick really needs to figure out, because if Bruno is having a poor game, we can't just rely on that for 90 minutes and just hope that he fixes up and then we're going to end up winning the game. Because what if he doesn't? Like against Hull. He didn't eventually get better when we made subs and whatnot. He just continued to have a poor game. So for me, it's like, one, Bruno needs to step up this weekend, 100%, because he can't have another game like that against Ipswich. But two, we need to figure out, and Carrick needs to figure out, can this team play without Bruno Fernandes? And if the answer is yes, how can we actually utilise that in games where he isn't having the best game? How can we make subs and how can we change things around where other players might be getting on the ball a little bit more and the style of play is changing a little bit more to just suit other players? Because we have great talent in the team. We have great players. We need to figure out, I keep saying Carrick needs to figure out how can he get the best out of all the players without having to rely on Bruno every single game. And the last thing is transfers. We still need transfers. There's 1 week left of the window. Now, I don't think we need to bring another midfielder because, like I said, we still need to figure out if the midfielders we have right now are good enough. I think we have enough rotation, especially when Mount comes back. We have some really good rotation. And don't forget Shea Lacey as well coming in. I think Shea Lacey can play to 10. So I think Shea Lacey coming in as well could be really a good bit of rotation as well. But, But we do need, in my opinion, a left back, because I don't know if I trust Luke Shaw to play 50, 60 games a season. I do think Balde will be a good option, and I do see a lot of talks about him leaving Barcelona, and they've actually had conversations about him and Flick. I think Flick left him out of the matchday squad, so I can actually see Balde coming in pretty soon, which will be really interesting because I've been advocating for Balde for a good couple of years now. Yes, he is a bit injury prone, which I think can be resolved if you rotate him properly. Premier League's a very physical league, so we need to make sure we manage that and manage his minutes very well. But I do think we need a left back. Centre back, I do think we need a centre back, but only just because we don't have available players. Our 2 starting centre backs are not available. So when we're playing every single game with our third choice and our 4th choice centre back, maybe even our 5th choice centre back if you want to include Yoro as well, you've set yourself up for disaster. You know what I mean? So I think, bear in mind, the whole game had nothing to do with quality. I think Aiden Heaven and Maguire both should have been able to play against Hull and have good games. I think Aiden Heaven just a little bit of experience. Maybe he just underestimated how good Hull were going to be. And Maguire, I actually think Maguire wasn't too bad, but again, he should be doing a lot better. But because we don't have all of our centre-backs available, that's the reason why I think we need to bring somebody in. It's not based on the quality. I just think we just need players. We need good enough players to be able to play every single week or twice a week, which we don't have right now. So look, guys, they are the 5 things that I think needs to be changed by next week, by this week, by Sunday, by the Ipswich game. They are 5 things that I think need to be addressed, and if we can address them, plus and like I said, another 10 to 15 other things that need to be addressed as well. But if we can address that, then hopefully we'll be able to get a good result against Ipswich, and we can actually just go on and actually just have a good season. Let's just have a good season without having a manager sacked, without having a poor start, without struggling here. And let's just have a good season, please, United. I've been waiting to have a good season for a very long time. So let's just go for it, and hopefully we can have a good win on the weekend. But look, guys, thank you for listening and watching. Like I said, any comments, just let me know down there. I reply to all the comments all the time. Subscribe. Let's run up the subscribers and like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.